across America, something unsettling is unfolding. Fast food, the simple, familiar comfort for millions, is crumbling behind closed doors. In just 6 months, more than 1,800 locations have gone dark. No protests, no headlines, just darkness spreading across hundreds of towns and suburbs where working people once grabbed a warm meal without the need to check their wallets. To survive, big chains are cutting their losses, but in doing so, they're cutting off the very communities that built them. As prices rise and paychecks fall short, even a $6 combo feels out of reach. What's left when cheap food is no longer an option? This is the Downturn Report, where the truth gets personal. Today, we reveal 15 major fast food chains that are closing locations right now, starting with the one no one expected to fall. Number 1, Starbucks. What happens when the corner coffee shop you relied on for a sense of safety and normalcy shuts its doors? Not because of bankruptcy, but because it no longer feels safe to stay open. That's the quiet storm rolling through America's cities. In 2024, Starbucks confirmed it would permanently close at least 7 bustling locations in San Francisco, as reported by NBC Bay Area. These weren't remote outposts or underperforming drive-thrus. These were core city stores where morning lines used to wrap around the block. Today, those same doors remain bolted shut, and San Francisco is not alone. More than 20 Starbucks locations in cities like Seattle, Portland, and Philadelphia have already closed or are quietly being evaluated for closure. These closures are erasing places that once felt like second homes where community, comfort, and caffeine came together in the morning light. Starbucks attributes the closures to rising street crime assaults, daily thefts, and ongoing threats to both employees and customers. Baristas have shared stories of working in fear, looking over their shoulders between espresso pulls. Many customers have stopped coming altogether. A $4 coffee suddenly feels like a risk not worth taking. But underneath this is a quieter heartbreak. The stores being closed aren't nestled in wealthy suburbs with drive-through convenience. They're the city stores' walk-in spots in neighborhoods where construction workers grabbed their first cup, where elderly neighbors chatted quietly by the window, and where working students pulled double shifts to cover their next rent payment. When these stores vanish, they take with them more than coffee. They erase the human rhythm of urban life, little rituals that brought warmth and meaning to busy, frayed lives. And it's not just about closures. Starbucks is shifting its investments away from city centers and toward car-friendly, high-income zones. The message is clear if you don't drive, if you don't live in the right zip code. Maybe that cup of comfort isn't for you anymore. The walkable coffee shop, once a public square for the working class, becomes a ghost. And for millions, the small, grounding moment of ordering a drink in a safe, shared space slips away. One former barista from Philadelphia let go after her location shut down. Said it best, "I didn't just lose a job. I lost the only place I felt I mattered," when even a cup of coffee becomes too much to ask for. What part of everyday life still belongs to us? And Starbucks isn't the only name fading from the sidewalk. Another familiar brand is quietly stepping back from your neighborhood at noon hour. Number 2, KFC. What if the final place where your family could still sit down, share a hot meal, and feel like things were okay just vanished overnight? Without a word, that's exactly what's happening to KFC across the country. There was a time when the red and white bucket wasn't just food, it was a symbol of celebration. Back in the 1990s, with over 5,000 locations nationwide, KFC was where families went after church, after payday, or just because they made it through another hard week. It wasn't fancy, but it was familiar, and it was everywhere. KFC wasn't just a fast food joint, it was stitched into the rhythm of American family life. But in 2025, the landscape looks nothing like that memory. Since 2020, nearly 70 KFCs have shut down in the United States. And in just the past year, 35 more disappeared quietly. Entire areas have been left behind. In Louisiana alone, stores in Jennings, Crowley, Eunice, and Sulphur have closed without notice, no local news, no corporate statement. Employees discovered the truth when they showed up to find locked doors and handwritten notes taped to the window. The reasons sound cold on paper: rising ingredient costs, shrinking profits, a customer base too stretched to afford takeout. Yum Brands, the corporate parent, is retreating from small-town America. Instead of upgrading old shops or adapting prices to struggling neighborhoods, they're cutting them loose. To shareholders, these closures are math. to families. They are erasures. In towns where there isn't much else, KFC was more than a meal. It was where long-haul drivers found something warm on an empty highway, where grandparents shared a booth and split a mashed potato bowl, where a tired mother could still buy her kids dinner and not feel ashamed about what she could afford. Now, those moments are vanishing. And in their place, boarded-up buildings, longer drives, fewer choices. This isn't just about losing fried chicken. It's about losing access, tradition, and care. It's about feeling like the world no longer makes space for working-class lives. When the last affordable dinner disappears without noise, it leaves behind more than hunger, it leaves behind silence, and the sense that no one is coming back for you. Number 3, Hardees. For decades, it wasn't just a place, it was the first light on the highway, the smell of sausage patties rising with the steam of a fresh biscuit, the clatter of early footsteps before the sun even peeked over the trees, to many. Hardees was the day's first handshake, a hot breakfast, a familiar smile, and a moment of calm before life got hard again. But now, that quiet morning comfort is slipping away. Across the South and Midwest, the red star of Hardees is fading from road signs, strip malls, and memory. Over 213 locations have been tagged for closure in just 2 years, following the bankruptcy of Summit Restaurant Holdings, its largest franchise operator, as confirmed by Restaurant Business. Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, Missouri, Florida, Kansas, and Wyoming have been hit hardest in some places. Full chains of up to 35 restaurants have gone dark without notice, without thank you signs, without a last breakfast served. The collapse didn't strike like lightning, it crept like rust. Since 2018, Hardees has been quietly losing its footing. Inflation made even a biscuit feel extravagant. The once affordable $2.99 meal now teeters near $5. For early risers, factory workers, janitors, school staff, that's no longer breakfast. That's a sacrifice. And when wallets tightened, foot traffic slowed, as costs soared, debt climbed, and stores in struggling towns were the first to vanish. But the real loss is deeper than empty booths. Hardees was a rhythm, a ritual, the cashier who knew your order, the sound of sizzling meat and friendly chatter, the small-town seniors meeting at the same table every morning, their laughs echoing through linoleum floors. For truckers and travelers, Hardees was a reliable beacon, hot, hearty, and human. Now, the lights are off. Gas station shelves have taken its place. Cold breakfast bars, no friendly nod, no warm biscuit, just silence. A retired bus driver in Missouri said quietly, "That was my morning. Same table, same biscuit. I didn't know how much I leaned on it until it vanished." And maybe that's the truth we're left with, sometimes. It's not the big things that signal collapse. It's the little ones. The empty booth at dawn, the breakfast that never got made. But what if it's not just breakfast we're losing? Even brands once considered unshakable, bold, brash, untouchable are beginning to fall. Take a closer look now at what's happening to Chick-fil-A. Number 4, Chick-fil-A. What does it say about the state of things when even the friendliest fast food chain, the one built on my pleasure, spotless dining rooms, and a sense of wholesomeness begins to quietly vanish from your neighborhood? That unsettling question now lingers in suburbs and small towns where Chick-fil-A once stood as a rare blend of fast food and family values. In 2024, without much warning, the company closed more than a dozen restaurants in states like North Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, according to Eat This, Not That. These weren't failing stores, yet doors were locked. No signs, no send-offs. Just puzzled families and stunned employees, over 1,500 workers, mostly students and part-timers, who found out the hard way that kindness doesn't guarantee security. So why is a chain known for stability starting to retreat? It's the creeping costs, hidden pressures in plain sight. In once affordable suburbs, retail rents have soared, turning successful locations into financial burdens. Meanwhile, the fast food world has changed. As more customers opt for app orders and drive-through speed, Chick-fil-A's signature service meals brought to your table. Refills with a smile feels increasingly out of sync. The company is now racing to invest in double-lane drive-thrus and mobile-only formats, leaving behind its original model of neighborhood hospitality. And what fades with it is more than just tradition. For countless families, especially in the South and Midwest, Chick-fil-A represented a place where children could eat without chaos, where workers wore clean uniforms, and where manners were part of the meal. For many young people, it was their first job where respect was expected and given. These spaces weren't just about chicken, they were about safety, order, and trust in an unpredictable world. Now, that trust feels shaken. Chick-fil-A was one of the last brands people believed would stay, the one you could count on to remain steady through change. But even that has proven fragile. With every quiet closure, a small piece of normalcy disappears. When the chain known for warmth and grace starts to close its doors without warning, what does that whisper to the families who built their routines around it? Maybe these aren't just closures. Maybe they're quiet goodbyes to the places that once held our daily lives together. And if you think that's where the unraveling ends, think again. Even the sweetest parts of our past, the old-fashioned ice cream shops, are starting to melt away. Number 5, Baskin Robbins. What happens when your favorite birthday flavor, the one with sprinkles, fudge, and memories tied to it, vanishes not just from the freezer aisle, but from your neighborhood entirely? That quiet heartbreak is already playing out across America. From June 2022 to June 2023, Baskin Robbins silently shut down 64 locations, according to Scrape Hero, and the closures haven't stopped. Just this year, 8 stores in Kansas and 13 in North Carolina are preparing to switch off their neon signs for good. No sales, no last scoop celebrations, just another set of dark windows on a street that's already seen too many goodbyes. For a generation raised on bubblegum pink and clown-faced cones. It's more than just losing ice cream. It's losing a piece of childhood, behind the scenes. The reasoning is brutally practical. Baskin Robbins now makes up less than 6% of Inspire Brand's total earnings. Its sister brand, Dunkin' Donuts, brings in more than 70%. That means Baskin's slow scoop nostalgia just doesn't fit the corporate mold. It isn't optimized for mobile apps, viral trends, or high-speed turnover. And in a market driven by cost-cutting, soaring refrigeration bills and sluggish sales are forcing many owners to walk away quietly, even painfully. But the loss goes far beyond business metrics. In working-class towns and aging neighborhoods, Baskin Robbins was never just dessert. It was a reward after a school recital, a birthday wish lit by sparkler candles, a shy teenage date with 2 spoons in 1 cup. These moments didn't come from the flavor, they came from the place. But now, with prices above $4 per scoop and fewer stores left standing, even that simple joy feels out of reach. And for many parents, a painful realization is setting in. The promises they made to their kids to share the same traditions, to return to the same counter, are quietly being broken. One father, standing outside a shuttered location in Kansas, said it best: "I told my son I'd bring him here like my dad brought me, but I can't keep that promise anymore." When even the cheapest joy starts to melt away. What we lose isn't just sugar, it's the texture of tradition, the flavor of belonging, the safety of a shared smile. And if dessert disappears this easily, what does that say about dinner? Because even the hearty, road trip meals at Arbys are beginning to vanish. Let's turn to that next. Number 6, Arbys. You might still crave those curly fries, the ones that warmed your palms during chilly lunch breaks, or that sat neatly beside your roast beef sandwich on a lonely afternoon drive, but don't be shocked if tomorrow they're gone. And the sign above the door quietly goes dark. Arbys, once a bold detour from the burger-dominated fast food landscape, is retreating in silence. According to CNBC, the brand suffered an 8.7% drop in system-wide sales in Q1 of 2023, followed by an even sharper 11.5% plunge in Q2. These aren't just corporate figures, they signal a quiet disintegration. Locations with long histories in places like Santa Maria, Houston, San Antonio, and San Francisco are shutting down. Experts now estimate that by the end of 2024, Arbys will shrink by at least 8% nationwide. The reasons trace back to a mounting financial storm. Many Arbys franchises are run by small operators, burdened with high-interest loans that are impossible to refinance in today's market. Inflation has driven food and utility costs sky high, and while consumer habits shift toward delivery and digital ordering, Arbys' traditional counter-service model feels increasingly outdated. The brand has attempted to renegotiate leases and rework debts, but when those efforts stall, closures become inevitable, and when an Arbys disappears, it's more than sandwiches that vanish. for countless middle-aged Americans. It offered a quiet, reliable lunch, a warm meal under $10 that didn't require explanation. In smaller towns and sleepy suburbs, Arbys stood out by not being burgers. It was something else comforting, familiar, dependable. Now, towns that once had 3 locations may have none. What vanishes is not just roast beef, but the simple spaces where coworkers laughed on break, retirees lingered over fries, and the ordinary felt complete. One longtime customer in San Antonio said softly, "I never asked for much, just my sandwich, my fries, and my quiet little corner." But even that's gone now. When roast beef and curly fries become out of reach, it's not just a meal we lose, it's a rhythm, a pause in the day, a thread of stability we didn't know we were holding on to until it snapped. And if that everyday comfort is slipping away, what hope is left for places built to celebrate? Because even the restaurants we once saved for birthdays like TGI Fridays are now dimming their lights. Number 7, TGI Fridays. Remember when Friday night meant more than just the end of the work week, when it meant mozzarella sticks sizzling on the plate, kids laughing in red booths, and birthday songs being belted out from 2 tables over TGI Fridays wasn't just a restaurant, it was a reward, a beacon of light at the end of 5 long days, offering comfort food, casual joy, and a taste of celebration. But that joy is dimming across America. In just 2 years, TGI Fridays shuttered nearly 100 US locations, falling from 386 in 2021 to only 286 by the close of 2023. That's almost a 26% drop, with entire regions like Texas and Massachusetts losing nearly all of their local stores. Instead of rebuilding domestically, the company is redirecting focus overseas, opening 75 new locations across Asia. To many Americans, it feels like being left behind by the very brand they helped build. This collapse didn't happen overnight. The pandemic hit casual dine-in chains hard, and Fridays never truly recovered. Sales plummeted by 80% during COVID. Unlike fast food giants that pivoted quickly to drive-through and delivery, Friday's full-service model faltered under rising rent, labor costs, and vanishing family outings. What once felt festive now looks fragile. But beyond the figures lies a deeper loss. TGI Fridays was where birthdays were remembered, first dates turned into anniversaries, and teenagers took their parents out for the first time. It was where waiters knew your name, and bartenders remembered your usual, in mid-sized towns. It offered just enough flair to feel like a big night out without breaking the bank. Now, those booths sit empty, the neon signs flicker out, and the sacred feeling of Friday night, once filled with anticipation, slowly fades. As one former waitress in Massachusetts said, "It wasn't just a job, it was where people made memories." And if we're losing even our places of celebration, what happens next when brands like Hooters, built on energy and spectacle, start to vanish too? Let's find out. Number 8, Hooters. Whether you loved it or loathed it, Hooters once held a loud, undeniable presence in American dining culture. For over 4 decades, it was part sports bar, part casual restaurant, part cultural curiosity. But now, it's slipping away quietly, without headlines, and without fanfare. In early 2023, there were 321 Hooters locations across the US today. That number has dropped to 306, and it continues to fall with each passing quarter, according to Scrape Hero. No announcements, no farewell specials, just shuttered doors in cities like Atlanta, Tampa, and Las Vegas, places where the chain once pulsed with birthday toasts, playoff games, and clinking pitchers of beer after work. But this isn't just about numbers, it's a signal of deeper change. The iconic image that once made Hooters infamous now feels out of sync with the times. As American culture shifts toward inclusivity, modern values, and changing gender norms, the chain's once provocative branding has begun to feel outdated. Behind the curtain, things weren't working either. Poor leadership decisions, failed rebranding efforts, and debt carried over from the pandemic all hastened the downfall. Meanwhile, sleeker, more adaptive competitors with digital menus, updated aesthetics, and broader appeal have swept in and seized the moment. Still, when a Hooters closes, it's not just the name that disappears. In many suburbs, it was one of the few places open late, a rare middle ground between dive bar and family restaurant. For service industry workers, it offered steady jobs and flexible hours. And for a certain generation of regulars, it was a strange but familiar comfort, a place where routine lived, however controversial. Now, those windows are going dark, the neon signs go cold. And something less visible goes with them, the erosion of another uniquely American corner of daily life. Because when even the loudest brands start fading without a word, what else is quietly crumbling beneath our feet? Number 9, Steak and Shake. It used to be the pulse of Midwest nights, the glow of neon, the clink of silverware, and the comfort of knowing that, no matter the hour, a hot meal and a milkshake were waiting. But today, Steak and Shake is becoming little more than a boarded-up memory fading into silence. Between 2021 and 2023, the chain quietly closed 24 locations, 8 company-run, and 16 franchises, according to Restaurant Dive. The brunt of this collapse hit the Midwest hardest: Indiana, Illinois, Missouri, places where Steak and Shake wasn't just a restaurant, but a neighborhood landmark. Its decline doesn't just feel like business, it feels like the lights going out on a whole era. The reasons are layered and relentless. For 5 consecutive years, average store revenue has dropped. At the same time, customer complaints over food quality and sluggish service have multiplied. The brand's hallmark diner-style model, real tables. Real servers now feels like an antique in a fast-paced world where drive-thrus and mobile orders reign. And keeping that old-school charm afloat simply became too expensive. But the loss cuts deeper than dollars. Steak and Shake wasn't just about burgers and shakes. It was where teenagers worked their first job, where young couples split fries in a booth, where grandparents passed down stories across sticky menus. It was small-town America, frozen in time, where generations brushed shoulders over the simplest things. Now, those booths sit empty, the chrome signs rust, and the spaces that once echoed with laughter and late-night chatter are falling still, when even the most reliable burger joint of your childhood surrenders. It's not just a restaurant that disappears. It's a quiet farewell to the routines, memories, and shared moments that once defined a town's soul. Number 10, Papa Murphy's. Once known as the affordable take-and-bake hero for busy families, Papa Murphy's is now struggling to keep its ovens warm. In 2022 alone, the chain shut down 72 franchise stores, and overall sales dropped by 11.4%, according to MTY Group. The biggest losses have come from outside the Pacific Northwest, where 32 locations reported zero profit since mid-2022. Now, nearly 6% of its entire store network is officially considered underperforming. What was once a cozy family routine, picking up a raw pizza to cook fresh at home, has lost its charm in today's world of instant delivery. Customers want hot food, fast, not meal prep. Add in inflation, rising wages, and unavoidable price hikes, and many longtime customers have simply stopped coming. MTY Food Group is facing heat from investors and has begun planning restructuring measures. The consequences go far beyond the storefront. Budget-conscious families lose a healthier, cost-friendly dinner. Seniors in suburbia lose a small joy they relied on. Local farmers and cheese suppliers lose a consistent buyer. When even the simplest home meal becomes unaffordable or unavailable. It's not just about pizza, it's about families slowly running out of options. Number 11, Bojangles. There was a time when every southern road trip passed a Bojangles. Its golden biscuits and Cajun chicken were a staple of the highway. But now, entire cities are vanishing from the map. All locations in Jacksonville, Florida have closed, along with many more in North Carolina and Tennessee, according to QSR magazine. And with no official count from Bojangles, fear is growing that even more closures are happening quietly. At the heart of this is a drastic reinvention. In late 2023, Bojangles' CEO revealed plans to shift the brand away from its traditional Southern identity. The company is now targeting elevated urban markets like Los Angeles, raising menu prices and retiring unprofitable stores in lower-income communities to Southern loyalists. It's a painful abandonment. Bojangles wasn't just about fried chicken, it was about heritage. It was the cheap meal after church, the lunch on a long drive, the place where comfort tasted like home. Now, those storefronts sit empty, replaced by a version of Bojangles that feels foreign and unaffordable. When the South loses its biscuits, what else is being erased? Number 12, Raising Cane's. Built on crispy chicken fingers and college town crowds, Raising Cane's once thrived on youthful energy, but from 2022 to 2024, that momentum has dimmed. The chain has quietly exited multiple college campuses, and several urban branches in high-crime areas have also shut down, according to Business Insider, though no official tally exists. The company admits a sweeping asset reallocation is in progress. The problem goes beyond profit. Core ingredients like chicken and oil are harder to source reliably. Crime near store locations has frightened off both staff and customers. Even loyal student bases have changed apps. Cheap snacks and growing food insecurity have reshaped how and where students eat. The impact is personal. Students lose one of the last $10 hot meals with real meat. City residents lose access to late-night comfort food in safe spaces. Part-time workers, many of them young women, lose jobs that once fit around class or caregiving. And what quietly disappears is something intangible, a pulse of youth, convenience, and community. When even Raising Cane's can't survive where it started, it's not just the meal that's gone, it's a sign the next generation is being priced out of its own future. These weren't just restaurants, they were anchors in our everyday lives. A $5 meal on a hard day, a booth where a child blew out birthday candles, a corner seat with coffee at midnight after a long shift. They were places of pause, of habit, of small joys. Now, they're vanishing not with protest, not with headlines, but quietly, like the lights dimming in a familiar room, and with their disappearance, we're losing something deeper: affordable comfort, shared space, a sense that no matter how hard life gets, there's still a place to go. When fast food, the last thing many could count on, becomes unaffordable or unavailable, what does that say about where we're headed? Not just fewer meals, but fewer moments. Fewer places to be together. If this struck a chord with you, pass it on. Because tomorrow's silence starts with today's unnoticed goodbye.